It's interesting, when you talk about areas of practice and how you ended up there, I think like most people, I ended up where I am by accident. So I deal with directors and officers liability issues. It's an insurance related thing. I think like most people with insurance, you ended up there. It sort of followed me around. I started with McGinnis Cooper as a summer student and then went on to Smith Lyons and Kelly Aflac Green. And the one thing that followed me was an insurance file. So about 10, 15 years later, here I am now dealing with insurance over and over again. It's an interesting area of work. It's fun to work with some of the leading executives across the country, and I think it keeps it fresh. You never know from day to day what's going to happen. I think you get lucky in your career if you find something that interests you, but more importantly, if you find that there's value you can give back in what you do. So for me, I think it's a chance to solve problems now. When I was litigating in private practice, it was different. It was a bit of going through the motions time and time again, arguing the same sort of cases and facts over again. Now I have an opportunity to work specifically on a problem, and if I do my job well, the value I think I get is the same as what I give back to my clients. I can make the problem go away, make a difficult situation better for them, and ultimately get them back to their business quicker. I came to Marsh, I guess about 8 years ago. And I had one specific file that came with me at that particular point in time. And I worked on it for about 5 years. And I can say without any doubt, it was probably the most difficult, complex thing I've ever done and probably ever will do. And I think what the pinnacle was is I remember when we found a solution to that problem and made it, in essence, the issue go away after 5 years. I was sitting in a restaurant in Montreal with one of the principals of the company. And sitting around the table, there was another member from their board, and just having them say, "Thank you. I don't know how you did it, but thank you." That meant the world to me in that one specific time frame. So if I had one pinnacle, and I'd love to tell you more about it, but I can't, I think that's probably it. Just to have someone that you regard that highly turn and say, "Thank you for everything you've done for us," that meant an awful lot. I think lawyers are lucky in that the older generations and those with more experience do a really great job in mentoring the younger generation coming along, and hopefully someday I'll have the opportunity to do that as well. It's funny though, I don't think there's one specific phrase or one thing that was said to me that meant more than the others. I've always thought of it this way. If someone who you admire, who has had a successful career and professionally you respect and personally you respect, gives up their personal time to take an interest in your career, to me, that means more than any one thing that they could ever say. So I think the thing I take from that is their belief in me, their wanting to give up their time to mentor me. That's always been sort of that guiding force that keeps me going. It makes me want to live up to that. If they've invested of themselves in me, I want to make sure I give them that return on investment somewhere down the line. I have a mentor, in essence, who has taught me an awful lot about pro bono work and what it means to give back. And I look at his career and he has an unbelievably hectic day, both with family and work, and I have no idea how he does it. And he's sort of a public figure as well. And on top of it, he takes an inordinate amount of his time every day to give back into the community. And I remember sitting at lunch with him once and he said, "Look, I think it's an obligation. When you get to a point and you've had a certain measure of success, I think it's an obligation that we have, that we're lucky enough to get to this point, we need to give back. We should try to leave the communities that we live in better than what we found them. And if we can do that in any form or fashion, I think that it really is an obligation." So for me, I try to pick a couple of major charities a year and then wherever I can help out after that. And the other thing is it's fun. When you look at someone who maybe is less fortunate than you or has had hardships placed upon them, and you can do anything, even if it's just make them smile for a day or help out in any form, you get an awful lot back out of that personally too. Canada is such a large place, and as a lawyer when you first start up, and I grew up in a small town in Fredericton, New Brunswick, I think you never really first see yourself as a lawyer. It seems that, again, use that phrase, pinnacle that you'll never get to. You get to that point and you'll never see yourself on Bay Street. And you get to Bay Street and then it just becomes that one more thing after another. It's really nice to be able to take a moment like this or as part of this process and step back and think of all of the times where you doubted yourself, where you weren't sure if you could get there, and remember not only the belief you eventually found, but those who believed in you, so whether it's your parents and My parents will get a kick out of this, and friends and family who've helped along the way. But it's a great reminder that you can achieve an awful lot if you never give up that self-belief. And as someone now with 2 young kids, I think it's the thing that my wife and I try to instill in our kids the most is you can do anything you want to. It takes effort, it's not always easy, and you're going to fall down a lot. But if you keep trying and you keep believing in yourself, it's amazing where you can get to. You know, there was a funny line, as cheesy as it sounds, in a Batman movie where he keeps, as a young kid, Christian Bale's character falls down. And the lesson that he learns is, you know, why do we fall down? So we can learn how to get up again. And I think that's one of those things is, again, when you think of a movie quote, it's funny. But you do. Every time that you fall down, you keep getting back up, you keep getting back up. It just progresses you forward. So I'd like to think that one of the reasons I've been honored to get to this point is because I've learned from all the times that I've fallen down, and hopefully I'll keep learning.